Welcome to the stream today. It's Miriam, and I'm back with Nick Hughes. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Hughes. Yeah.
Hughes. Okay, yeah, I thought that, and then I read the name there on
Oh,
your
yeah.
thing, and I was like, oh,
Let
I
me.
must have it wrong. Here, I'll
Yeah, let
correct
me
it.
adjust that. But yeah, Nick Hughes. Sorry, that might be my bad. Yeah.
No, that's great. And from Founders Live, he is kind enough to be participating in the QUOKA user interview series and give me some honest feedback about what he thinks about QUOKA. And we're going to just chat today. So thanks, Nick, for making time. Why don't we start off with what Founders Live is and what your role is there?
Yeah, Founders Live is a global marketplace, and we're now starting to build out this essentially a digital economy around early stage entrepreneurship. And we combine essentially early stage, pitch competitions that, either are in person when we can or live streamed that highlight the talent coming out of cities around the world. And then we have also a community, and we're building out a marketplace to really connect the early stage startups with the resources, information, capital, and the exposure that they need for success.
Wonderful. And what do you do there?
Yeah, I am the CEO and the founder. I started Founders Live in 2014 and started in Seattle, Washington, where is really my home. I grew up in the state of Washington, and just been building the company ever since then.
So you do everything.
Yeah, when you are the founder and CEO, you end up doing a lot. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned a few things that you guys do. Um, what type of just any kind of support do you offer entrepreneurs?
Yeah, we have a community that it brings founders together and provides them a venue, a community to connect with other entrepreneurs. Our events are actually social experiences, and so we really one of the words that we've really focused around on is inspiration. And when we say we inspire, educate, and entertain entrepreneurs, and so to provide an environment, whether that's in person or digitally, for people to connect. They can be inspired by other entrepreneurial stories. They can ask for advice or mentorship through the community, and really get feedback. So and we've been experimenting on what methods to do that, especially because we're global. So one of the challenges that we have had actually is because we're so global. I mean, we have expanded to about 75 cities around the world, and that's 26 countries. So when you look at that, like language barriers are a thing, geography, culture is a thing. So that's been our challenge, is to actually facilitate a global community when there are people from various parts of the world that end up, having some cultural differences, even though entrepreneurship is worldwide. And it's true. Entrepreneurship is available in all countries around the world, but when people speak different languages, it's kind of hard to help that in some ways.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's amazing. I saw some posts about the expansion that you guys are doing, and it looks like it's moving really quickly, and you're in some cool countries, and you're traveling
Yeah.
around to these places too.
So I actually spent the last 2.5 years traveling to Founders Live cities, both globally, internationally, and then obviously around the United States. The pandemic was a bit of a pause in that, and but I still managed to travel some, and I now, for the first time, actually just actually got a place back in Seattle, at least as a home base, because I was pretty much living on the road, living through in Airbnbs. Just so fun meeting a lot of our team and people that are in various either cities around the United States or around the world. But yeah, I'll continue to do that. But I recently came back into Seattle, and I'm now at least in a new place that I have a lease in versus just literally renting an Airbnb every month.
Yeah. Welcome back. I love Seattle.
Yeah, thank you.
Seattle's a great city. Okay, so do you think that the founders that you work with need mental health support?
Yes, I mean, flat out, yes. You're talking to one that probably needs it too. Um, I think in general that is something that has been so either overlooked or swept under the rug. And look, it's not just entrepreneurship. I think we saw this summer even with things like the Olympics, or some of our tennis stars, our sports stars around the world are starting to really talk about, mental health is real, or challenges around mental health is real. And in startups and in entrepreneurship, there is a either outwardly or subtle there is a subtle stress, or it's stressed to not tell the truth and to always crush it, and to act like you're everything is great. And a lot of times everything's not great, and we feel like we're suffering alone when we have all these challenges, and you're not the startup that's been written in the media and all this. And so yeah, I think that it's a tremendous need that really does need to be addressed.
Hmm. I agree with you that it's not just in entrepreneurship, it's definitely other groups as well. Does Founders Live currently do anything to offer mental health support to their founders or anything of that nature?
We have partnered with other organizations. Like there's a basically a wellness app that we've partnered and kind of promoted through our community, that actually allows people, and they've geared it towards founders, to really like kind of almost track on a daily basis, like on a quick scoring, like where are you in some of these categories. So we've explored those sort of things, and we pushed it out in terms of like getting this into our community, because we felt like it was something of need. And we internally have not built much in terms of specific products offered in this direction, but we are looking at it, and it's definitely of interest. But it is something that, in our view, we actually, and we haven't officially kind of built this out as a framework, but kind of internally in our team, we've really talked about, and we're looking to kind of structure things around what we call the holistic entrepreneur, or the holistic founder. And that involves many things around, knowledge and intelligence, wellness, and basically health and wellness, and mental wellness falls into that. Physical wellness, basically making sure that you're healthy in all those ways. Um, you know, uh, social connection, and networking, as building out your network as a founder. Um, and then the finance aspect about that. So when you look at kind of like a pie chart, this is an aspect of what we're looking at when you talk about the complete founder or the holistic founder. Health, wellness, and then mental wellness is definitely a slice of that I think needs to be addressed further.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm excited to follow your progress on making holistic entrepreneurs, and
Yeah.
it sounds wonderful. Do you have any stories of a founder becoming disinterested or uninvolved with their startup or your program? And do you know what caused this?
I don't know any, I can't speak for anyone else, but what I can say is, personally, I hit a burnout wall this summer. Personally, I really hit burnout. And I'm still kind of trying to figure out exactly, and I think it was a number of different influences, but some of it, like honestly, some of it was, I think it's pandemic associated for sure, which is, you know, I think psychologically we entered into the entire pandemic experience as like expectation wise that this was going to be a shorter, we're going to get over this soon thing. And, you know, when it turns into year number 2 and when we have an you know, unclear vision of the next 3, 6, 12 months just from life and then business on top of that, I think it can take a big toll. So I personally hit really a wall this summer, and I needed to pull back a little bit, and we're going through some changes in our structure of our business model and the things that we're doing around globally. And so it's just been a tough time. And, you know, so I think, I mean, that's been my experience. And I really, I've leaned into, you know, just physical exertion and exercise, and you know, when I struggle with emotional or mental, to me I just have to go get that anxiety out through exercise, working out, running, taking walks and listen to podcasts, and actually disengaging with the company, because you can't just sit there for 10 hours, 12 hours a day like this.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, it's not healthy. Like, it's just not healthy regardless. So realizing that you sometimes there's seasons where you actually have to disengage in some way, shape, or form to go actually live your life and get outside and get fresh air and maybe go grab a drink with a friend or just like go do something else. And so yeah, that's, you know, I'm kind of still going through it a little bit, but this summer was probably the kind of thick of it.
Yeah, I feel you there. I've been telling everyone, well, this summer's been one to forget. The
And you
opposite.
know, and it's because well, some of the reason it's because what we thought it was going to be, you know. And I think that that's the real frustration, is like the uncertainty of the pandemic. And you know, it depends on where you live in the world. If not in the country, you know, your state or city might be in a bit different situation. But you know, the like with the Delta variant and swinging back, like it just is like, oh, we gotta do this again. And you know, although businesses are open, you know, it's just like it just has become, it's just tiresome, you know. And it's like, if you want to get back to what it was, which I don't think it's going to be in some ways, it's just weird. It's psychological toll that I think we're only learning or scratching the surface of the amount of psychological impact, negative impact, that this whole basically a 2-year experience is actually going to have on people. We're only barely discovering how negatively impacted people have been.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You talked a little bit about what mental health and wellness support of a founder looks like through this holistic approach. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Well, I mean, we'll probably talk a little further about, you know, just interaction, communication, feedback. I think the big question is like, what, right? And what are those services and offerings and support? What does that look like? Everyone's different, and everyone has a degree of maybe embarrassment, whether they have that or not, shame or curiosity, you know. And so it's like everyone's different. How do you create a product that can meet those needs when they're actually quite a range of like comfortability or uncomfortability on how to fix this, which that's what founders think, which is not the right way to think about it, but we want to fix it, you know. And I don't know if it can be fixed. I think it needs to be addressed and grown through, not fixed.
Mm,
Yeah,
interesting. I like that.
because that stuff doesn't go away. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the key. Is this is like, ooh, what's a good way to think about this? So rather than taking, rather than getting a scrape or a cut and using a band-aid for a day or two and then it's gone, like this is something that you actually, as a human being, like it doesn't go away. You have to manage it. You have to learn. We need to learn what this is about, because it's anxiety. It's like it's internal, and it's based on expectations and emotional versus, and maybe it's a season of life, but that doesn't mean you're not going to ever struggle with this again. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to learn how to manage it and all that. And that's the key, is management, not just get this out of my life and fix it.
Mm-hmm. How is your program funded?
We have our business model is around global partnerships and sponsorships. We are building out our premium membership experience as well. And then we're really excited about some new offerings around essentially our digital economy and some digital assets and some cool things that will be essentially purchasable items as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So we took a little funding, like 4 years ago now, but we haven't really ran off of investment money. We actually just have our revenue models that we grow through.
Mm-hmm. And how do you attract founders to apply for your program?
A lot of it is word of mouth, and Founders Live. Again, the root of Founders Live is events that happen. They are either physical or virtual pitch competition events that are social in nature and build the community. And so most of our members and most of our what we call fans, our fans around the world, have heard about an event, a friend is pitching, they see it on social media, and then they're like, "Hey, this is really cool." And so they come to this thing that is like a energetic celebration of entrepreneurship, and then they get that's their introductory into the community and really our ecosystem. So most of it's word of mouth. We have not done much at all paid conversion ads. We're kind of looking at some of that going forward, but most of it is absolutely brand building and word of mouth. For instance, Nashville has Founders Live. Nashville is happening tonight. And it's an in-person event, so go Nashville. But those events are what attract people to discover what we offer.
Yeah. Would you allocate a budget to a mental health platform, a mental health support platform for your founders?
We would most likely not pay for something that would then be free to our members. We reach 100,000 people around the world, and it's going to be millions. So we're not in the business of necessarily doing that. We would explore what that what a relationship looks like, and maybe it's we would be very interested in offering it to our global membership for them to engage with it. And if it's a subscription model for them, they would purchase that on their own. So there's some things there that we would be exploring for sure. Have to learn a lot more about, what all that entails and stuff like that. But this is definitely something that I think is, going back to what I said earlier, very valuable for the holistic founder, and it's something that we would want to look at how we want to put this in front of our global community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you guys track any KPIs as a organization?
Yeah, we have a small group of KPIs that we track on a weekly and monthly basis. Yeah.
What are they?
High level KPIs are, member growth, weekly events on a week, like how many events on a weekly basis. What's our, churn, how many are churning out or even unsubscribing to things like our newsletter, community engagement, some specific metrics on, what's our weekly engagement? Yeah, and then number of basically new startups that are indexed into our. We actually index. Mostly it's the startups that pitch through our events, but the growth of how many startups that are into our database and essentially our marketplace. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. How do you decide what external programs or services you partner with, and what does that process look like?
We really look at what first it's what our vision is, in terms of how do we want to impact global entrepreneurship, and then you can slice that up into the segments of what founders need. So by surveying and gaining insight on what is desired and what do global entrepreneurs around the world, what do they need, what do they want, what do they need more of, what are they lacking, and then we segment that into the kind of verticals that we would want to bring in, put in front of them, whether that's internally built or externally partnered. Things like basically capital. So how do we raise money? Where is the investors? How do name a
Mm-hmm.
startup that's not looking for capital. So that's a big need. Mentorship, advisory, global partnerships. Obviously, this sort of like education, training, and then even wellness and basically complete me as an entrepreneur. That's kind of like I would say the segment of this area. But yeah, that's how we really first it's what would serve them the best, what are they looking for, needing, and essentially lacking, and then we go through and segment that into how do we want to bring things of that nature to them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Do you know how founders are getting mental health support these days?
No, no. I mean, I can't say I know what they're doing. I can tell you that I encourage this as much as I can, is I have 3 coaches around me. 2 of them are therapists, and so I would suggest, if not assume, that people are seeking out therapy in some way, shape, or form. And but I don't know what they're doing at this point. And I think it's there's some in your direction, in the direction, there's things bubbling up now, because I think it's a clear need, and there's some problems going on. So there's some apps out there and some other things that are piecemealing it together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that I should know?
Well, what we haven't really talked about is, I'd mentioned this previously, but I think like I personally have a concern around, and I understand kind of where you're at with it's like anonymous or not, or how do we build out a system, a platform that can allow for feedback and interaction between individuals. But when it's anonymous, I have concerns on that. And that's simply because like at scale, like can that really work in trust? Like, is there trust involved in, we're talking about people sharing probably the most emotional, and it's risky for them. They're scared and nervous, and if there's a lack of trust in the entire thing, they're going to have a hard time using it. More importantly, they can use it and have like 10 great experiences, and then one person is just not a nice person on your platform, and that person is the person that was a victim will never come back. So this is something that you can't even afford. Out of 20 great user experiences, the one where someone gets embarrassed, or they're brought to tears, or they are like having a very bad day and someone makes it even worse, I wouldn't come back. So I think like when you build out a system like this, I think directionally, you're, when you look at mental health and feedback and interaction, you're in the right direction. Anonymous, I would very much like question that, or at least do tremendous testing. But be very aware that I think, a segment of 50 people could be totally filtered, and you're going to not get maybe the accurate data. But when you have 500, 1,000, 10,000, 50,000 people, you're going to have bad actors. It's just the way that the world works. So I would be very curious of how that would be structured. And maybe you just have a toggle, or you figure out, how to, it's not black and white. It might be somewhere in the middle. So I would just encourage you in that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely something that we considered, or that I considered. Right now, every message is read before it goes out to the community. So no spam or bad actors get through. But personally, I have experienced things like Reddit where people do share really personal things, and it can be an awful experience. I almost got canceled on there myself. So
yeah,
totally.
yeah, and it's just like, these are like, you have a great idea to start with. The challenge for you and your team that's going to be the difference between, I think, major impact and success and not is this right here, which is like, it's that kind of special sauce combination, and that's your challenge. So we're all in entrepreneurs. We're product builders. There's always that like, oh, it's these like 2 or 3 things that's going to kind of make or break, and usually it's the differentiation. And so I hope that you can find a good combination. And I think that this experience needs to be out there. And like I said, we would love at some point, like really look, when you get it at a place, we would love to kind of start bringing it into the community and testing it out in some way, shape, or form. So I hope you can get there, because I think it's needed, and I hope you can be successful in it.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
Can you refer me to 2 or more people that are in similar roles as yours to speak with?
Yeah, I can follow up via email, but let me kind of think about a couple people. And there's definitely one I'm thinking about, and yeah, just follow up with me on that. But I know many different founders, and see, if you're looking for, I think the question would be, and we'll do this in email, but is it someone in the specific market industry you're in, or is it just founder, CEO? We have 50,000 of those around the world, so yeah.
I would like to speak with leaders of yourself, of ecosystems and founder support networks, things
Awesome.
like that.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Nick. Everyone, make sure to check out Founders Live. The URL is below for upcoming events in person and online. And I can personally attest that Nick is totally available to chat with you, and we'll make time. So thanks again, Nick, and we'll see you around.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.